what you're also doing is not allowing NASCAR to potentially have these truly great drivers.
Bam. And that is the biggest problem, is that you're watering down your superstars.
In the wake of the controversial Martinsville race in 2024, the Joe Gibbs Racing driver has unleashed a torrent of truth bombs on his podcast, Actions Detrimental. From the contentious call that knocked Christopher Bell out of the championship 4 to the alleged race manipulation tactics employed by Chevrolet and Toyota teams, Hamlin is pulling no punches as he exposes the underbelly of NASCAR's decision-making process. Let's start with the moment that set the racing world ablaze. Christopher Bell's last lap Hail Melon move. With a spot in the championship 4 on the line, Bell channeled his inner Ross Chastain and rode the wall in a desperate attempt to gain positions. NASCAR officials were quick to drop the hammer, slapping Bell with a safety violation penalty that ended his title hopes. Hamlin, no stranger to controversial finishes himself, weighed in on the call during his podcast, and he said, "In the end, I think NASCAR made the right call. I don't like it, but they wanted to avoid us wall riding on the last laps to either gain or defend positions. Christopher Bell didn't have to do it."
In the end, I think they made the right call. I don't like it, but I they wanted to avoid us wall riding on last laps to either gain or defend positions, and Bell didn't have to do it. I think there was probably a little bit of panic in the moment because you're thinking.
But Hamlin didn't stop there. He dove deeper into the chaos of those final laps, shining a light on the potential race manipulation tactics employed by Chevrolet and Toyota teams. Ross Chastain and Austin Dillon, both driving for Chevy, seemed to form a protective wall behind their teammate William Byron. Their actions effectively blocked other drivers from making a pass, ensuring Byron's spot in the championship 4. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace, behind the wheel of the number 23 Toyota, mysteriously fell back, allowing Bell to pass him in the final corner. Hamlin thinks it is not a coincidence. Hamlin said, "If everything played out natural between the other cars, the 24 is out. The other cars were just parked behind him." He is referring to William Byron's suspicious ability to maintain his position despite falling back in the pack.
They're going to look at all that stuff, certainly, but if everything, I think, plays out 100% natural between all the cars and everything, I think the 24 is out. I think that the other cars were just parked behind him. Lap times would indicate that was the case, and certainly it only took one car to pass him for him to be out.
He even suggested that NASCAR should consider penalizing manufacturers' points to discourage such behavior. "I don't know what you can do about it other than taking manufacturers' points away." But he acknowledged that the organization is unlikely to bite the hand that feeds them.
I mean, the question still is, what do you do about it? And I just don't know what you can do about it other than, take manufacturer points away. Because the manufacturers care about who wins that manufacturer's cup.
NASCAR is now investigating the late race actions of Chastain, Dillon, and Wallace. But Hamlin isn't holding his breath for any significant consequences. He said, "It's unclear what NASCAR will do about the late race manipulation by Chevrolet and possibly Toyota, as Wallace claims he had an issue, but it could result in significant penalties. Could NASCAR remove Byron from the championship 4? It seems unlikely, but NASCAR will likely issue severe penalties to the guilty parties sometime before championship weekend." But the controversy doesn't end there. Hamlin also took aim at NASCAR's vague and inconsistent rulebook. When Elton Sawyer, NASCAR's vice president of competition, compared Bell's penalty to a loose tire, Hamlin called BS. "That's not true, I don't agree with that. A tire rolling across the track means a wheel is off, right? That is a definite thing. I don't know, again, they put such vague wording in their rules."
But he said that, they said it's over and, that's the decision. So,
Elton said it was basically equivalent of loose tire, tire rolling down the track, and so it's a penalty and it's black and white, so that you can't appeal
that's
that.
That's not true. Okay, I don't agree with that. That a tire rolling across the track means a wheel is off, right? That is a definite thing. This was a tire wobbling in the wheel well. I don't know. Again, they put such vague wording in their rules. It's what allows these instances to come up where they are always in these situations. Well, how are they going to interpret their rule this week?
Hamlin argued that NASCAR's ambiguous language is intentional, allowing them to interpret the rules however they see fit. He said, "It's what allows these instances to come up where they are always in these situations. Well, how are they going to interpret their rule this week, right? There's not enough clean defined rules in that rule book because they just leave it open for themselves to do what they want or feel is right. And so that's the issue that we have, right?
It's what allows these instances to come up where they are always in these situations. Well, how are they going to interpret their rule this week? Right? There's not enough clean, defined rules in that rule book because they just leave it open for themselves to do what they want or feel is right. And so that's the issue that we have, right? I just don't know of any other sport, and I've never read the rule book of any other sport, but usually it's foot on line out. It's things like that. But there's also roughing the passer. That's very, very vague, right? What is that? Is it grabbing around the ankle? Is it you can do it, but you can't turn? Yeah, what is a catch? There's lots of things like that in other sports, but it seems as though it happens, like Jared was saying at the intro here, it just happens more times than not on how are they, we just don't know how they're going to rule it because we've seen wild instances where it's been one is a white call, one is a black call, and they look the same, right? And
fans wasted no time backing up Hamlin's claims. Social media lit up with angry comments and calls for change. Could we be out of touch? No, it's the fans who are wrong, one fan sarcastically remarked, highlighting the absurdity of NASCAR dismissing legitimate concerns as mere bot activity. Another fan, fed up with the inconsistencies and perceived favoritism, summed up the situation with a blunt, "fucking clown." But it wasn't just the Martinsville debacle that drew Hamlin's anger. He also took aim at the playoff format itself, arguing that it waters down the sport's superstars and fails to reward true greatness. Hamlin exclaimed, "Bam, bam." And that is the biggest problem, is that you're watering down your superstars. Even Steve Phelps did a podcast not long ago. I saw the quotes of it, and even the host says, "Yeah, Steve, parody, while y'all may deem it as great, isn't that a negative because you're not letting your stars shine?" And he gave a long-winded corporate answer. But that is true. It is watering down the superstars of our sport, no question about it. Absolutely, that is the gist of it.
What you're also doing is not allowing NASCAR to potentially have these truly great drivers.
Bam, bam. And that is the biggest problem, is that you're watering down your superstars. And even Steve Phelps did a podcast not long ago it just was, I saw the quotes of it. And even the host says, "Yeah, Steve, parody, while y'all may deem it as great, isn't that a negative because you're not letting your stars shine?" And he gave a long-winded corporate answer. But that is true. It is watering down the superstars of our sport. No question about it. Absolutely. That is the gist of I guarantee you, if NASCAR could put a playbook together and say, who do we want? What are the best four for ratings and all that? Is this the four?
No.
It's the problem with parity.
Hamlin pointed to Kyle Larson as a prime example of how the playoffs can unfairly eliminate dominant drivers. "I'm not talking about me. I don't think that we performed our best this playoff. Should we be part of the Final Four? By the statistics? Probably, but I would argue we didn't have it this year. It's more the Kyle Larsons of the world that you win the most races, you lead in every category, the most dominant car most weeks, and yet you're out."
And I'm not talking about me. I don't think that we performed our best this playoff. Should we be part of the Final Four? By the statistics, probably. But I would argue we didn't have it this year. It's more the Kyle Larsons of the world that you win the most races, you lead in every category, you're the most dominant car most weeks, and yet you're out.
The current playoff system, which has expanded from 10 drivers to 12 and now 16, has lowered the bar for qualifying, according to Hamlin. A single win can propel a driver from the 30s in points to a playoff spot, as was the case with Harrison Burton's Daytona victory. Hamlin said, "It's the problem with parity. It's the problem with creating a format that allows win and you're in. It just ignores all the poor performance that you had before that."
It's the problem with parity. It's the problem with creating a format that allows win and you're in. It just ignores all the poor performance that you had before that.
But Hamlin's criticism didn't stop at the playoff format. He also called out NASCAR's apparent ignorance of genuine fan frustration. Mike Ford from NASCAR Communications dismissed the uproar over the playoff format as just bots, implying that the outcry wasn't from real fans, but rather automated online chatter. Hamlin, however, wasn't buying it. "If you were hoping for any changes to the playoff format after all this, it tells you how seriously they take fan reaction," he said. Fans quickly rallied on social media to prove they were real and very much upset with the current state of affairs. "Trust me, we have pulses," they exclaimed, reacting to the absurdity of being dismissed as mere bots. The sentiment was clear. NASCAR is out of touch with its fan base and change is long overdue. The outrage didn't stop there. One passionate fan expressed their hope that NASCAR would face consequences in the ongoing 2311/FRM lawsuit, stating, "This is why I hope NASCAR gets completely trashed in the 2311/FRM lawsuit. The France family and their brass have run the sport into the ground these past 20 years. With team owner Michael Jordan taking on NASCAR's governing body, fans are eager to see justice served and accountability restored." As the dust settles from Martinsville, NASCAR finds itself at a crossroads. Will they take meaningful action to address the concerns raised by Hamlin and countless fans? How will they handle the apparent race manipulation tactics employed by some teams? These are questions that demand answers, and NASCAR's response will be closely scrutinized in the coming weeks. For now, the focus shifts to Phoenix Raceway, where Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron will battle it out for the 2024 Cup Series championship. While Hamlin may not be in the running for the driver's title, he's got a vested interest in the outcome as a team owner. His driver, Tyler Reddick, will be piloting the number 45 car for 2311 Racing, and a win would be a sweet consolation prize after a tumultuous season. But regardless of who takes home the trophy, one thing is certain: Denny Hamlin has kicked the hornet's nest, and NASCAR can no longer ignore the growing discontent among its fan base. The sport's most passionate supporters are demanding change, and if NASCAR doesn't listen, they risk losing the very people who keep the engines running. Hamlin's comments have sparked a much-needed conversation about the state of NASCAR, from the inconsistencies in rule enforcement to the perceived favoritism towards certain manufacturers. Fans are rallying behind the driver, echoing his calls for transparency and accountability. The anger is palpable, with comments like, "God, I hate these guys. They really need to clean house as far as NASCAR decision-making is concerned." But it's not just the fans who are speaking out. Even team owner Joe Gibbs, whose driver Christopher Bell was knocked out of the playoffs by the controversial call, expressed his displeasure with NASCAR's decision. "They said it's over," Gibbs stated, acknowledging that they are still dealing with it. When asked about the possibility of an appeal, Gibbs said, "I'd love to. They said we can't appeal." If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to NASCAR Insider for more NASCAR-related videos.